Good evening and welcome to Altos, your weekly news and current affairs program produced by the Catholic News and aired on Trinity TV and state-owned TTT. I'm Neil Parsonlal. Here's a look at this week's top stories. The Vicar General speaks to the link between white-collar and violent crime and urges the country not to lose hope. He says collective action is needed. A mixed response to Hurricane Barry's relief efforts as Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell urges the Conference of Churches to step up. Pan Camp launched as the President walks the talk and does her bit to integrate the steel pan into her office. And later we speak with Professor Oluyemi Mashama as we explore ways that you can protect yourself as crime rises. And now for a look at our top story. Vicar General Father Martin Sergiu says the Church is not unaware of the intractable nature of white-collar crime. And while the one that is breathing down our neck every day and stifling us is violent criminal activity, he said there's a recognition that the two types of crime are not mutually exclusive, but are connected. In the face of a worsening crime situation which saw 15 murders in one weekend and daily reports of home invasions and killings, Father Sergiu is urging the country not to lose hope. He said there's a lot of anger, hate and pain, but he believes that the situation is not hopeless. He's also reassuring those affected that they are not alone.
We must not lose heart nor hope. We think of the Christmas morning gospel of every year. A light shines in the dark, and the darkness did not overpower. I also want to say to all the hurting people of this land, you who have lost loved ones, you who have been traumatized, that we, the clergy, grieve with you and for you. We feel your pain and sense of loss. We feel this sense of powerlessness as well, and this deeper national hurt.
Father Sergiu appealed to those who are pursuing the path of violence to rediscover their humanity and change course. While there have been calls to pray for an end to crime, Father Sergiu said the situation also requires collective action.
Let us also, my dear friends, put all our resources, all our best minds, all available data and technology at work so that we can bring forth the best crime plan and work collectively towards it. We can do something to make a dent in what we are seeing.
Father Sergiu urged a shift away from the attitude of entitlement, emphasizing the importance of hard work and respect for other lives and possessions. And staying on the same scene, psychologist Dr. Margaret Nakid Chatur is acknowledging that the increase in violent crime has significantly affected or impacted the country's collective mental health.
Crime and violence, therefore, is a major public concern and has been identified as the key stressor for increasing mental ill health and affecting a person's mental well-being. So whether or not you have been a victim or you have witnessed a crime, this increases the risk of developing mental disorders, in particular post-traumatic stress disorder and depression.
Speaking to Altos, Dr. Nakid Chatur admitted that coping with a high crime rate can be challenging. However, she suggested strategies to manage stress and maintain our well-being.
The first one I want to highlight is limiting certain forms of digital social media consumption, because this can increase anxieties and fears about crime. So turn off your networks from time to time. Secondly, maintain your routine. Try to keep up with the regular routines for meals, for exercise, physical exercise, and sleep. Because in maintaining routines, we provide a sense of normalcy and control in the midst of everything that's happening.
And she's also recommending exercise as a way to relieve stress. She also suggests spending time with trusted friends and relatives whom you can openly discuss fears, anger, loss, grief, and resentment, especially concerning perpetrators of crime. If stress becomes overwhelming, she says, seeking help from a counselor or psychologist would be beneficial. And you can read more about this, of what Dr. Chatur has to say, in next Sunday's issue of the Catholic News. President Christine Kangaloo is holding up the Panyard model as one of the most powerful anti-crime measures the country will ever see. She believes the model has the potential to end the hopelessness pervading the society in the face of daily reports of murders and other serious crimes. As Catholic News editor Raymond Sims tells us, as she launched the Panyard camp at the President's house earlier this week, Her Excellency spoke of a commitment to Pan.
What you heard as His Excellency and I walked in this morning was the first public playing of the fanfare solely on the steel pan.
Her Excellency President Christine Kangaloo was happy to announce at the launch of the President's Pan Camp at President's House earlier this week that the fanfare to welcome the Excellencies at events has been changed from the traditional trumpet to the national instrument, the steel pan. Her wish espoused when she came into office was to use the Panyard model to help the nation's youth, a dream that has become a reality. Speaking after a weekend of 15 murders, Her Excellency said the Panyard model gives hope.
Our country needs now, more than ever, to see a different view of ourselves when we look in the mirror. This morning, Trinidad and Tobago woke up to the news that there were 14 murders, with some media houses reporting as many as 15 over the weekend. In the teeth of such unspeakable atrocity, the Panyard model affords us a different reflection of ourselves. It shows us one pathway out of the darkness. If there is a feeling of hopelessness in Trinidad and Tobago at this time, the Panyard model offers us a path back to hope.
Her Excellency said the model provided by the steel pan movement in the preparation for Panorama includes discipline, structure, and exposure to the transformative and healing power of music, which all combine to provide this country with one of the most powerful tools for society available anywhere in the world.
I believe that the widespread adoption in our communities of youth programs based on the Panyard model can bring about the societal change that is required for Trinidad and Tobago to achieve our fullest potential. I believe that the widespread adoption of the Panyard model has the potential to be among the most powerful anti-crime measures our country will ever see.
Like all countries, she said, Trinidad and Tobago faces moral, political, economic, and social challenges, but she's optimistic that all is not lost.
We are a good and decent people, capable of good and decent things.
President Kangaloo is hoping that the Panyard model will spread throughout the country and become part of this country's DNA. I am Raymond Sims for Catholic News, Altos.
Sweet sound of Pan. Aid continues to be rushed to the Caribbean islands affected by Hurricane Beryl. The church here in Trinidad and Tobago is doing its part, and 7 collection centers have been set up for faithful to drop off items to be shipped. Videographer Andre Burton visited 2 centers earlier this week, the Assumption Pastoral Center in Maraval, North Trinidad, and the St. Benedict's Parish Hall in La Romaine, South Trinidad.
The response was immediate. As soon as Archbishop Gordon, he made the request, they sent out the flyer. It started a little bit slowly, but it's building up, and the response has been tremendous so far. Yesterday, we had a good stream of people. Today, just a couple of people so far, but we are still early in the day. People are digging deep and they are helping. We have not gotten any medical supplies as yet in terms of like painkillers, and which is one of the things requested. So we're hoping to get like things like that.
The announcement was first made for basic items. I said water, canned goods, towels, blankets, flashlights, torches, so that those immediate needs can be met. And almost right away, person started bringing in stuff. Last week really was beginning to have a pretty good collection. And then this week, some more items came in. Just knowing that persons are without homes and livelihood is a difficult thing. And if in some small way we can reach out at least to bring some comfort in this immediate need, I think is the least that we can do.
And Grenada's Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell is appealing to the Conference of Churches to step up and assist the efforts to aid those worst affected by Hurricane Beryl. The Category 4 hurricane severely devastated Grenada's dependencies of Petite Martinique and Carriacou, destroying homes. Some schools were destroyed and/or damaged, and the agriculture sector was decimated. Prime Minister Mitchell told a news conference that many have been left traumatized and homeless and need more than just prayers.
I want to conclude by asking the Conference of Churches, our church goers, our spiritual leaders, to also step up and play their part at this crucial time. Not only do we need your prayers, but we also need your hands and feet to assist with the counseling, to assist with the sharing, to assist with the emotional challenges that many people may have, and to assist with the cleaning and rebuilding efforts. So I'm making a special plea to the Conference of Churches, its membership, the wider religious and spiritual community in Grenada to also demonstrate your support and leadership for people at this time, particularly those who are badly impacted by this, because there is a significant role for you to play as well in this process.
Acknowledging his own government's limitations, Prime Minister Mitchell outlined plans for consultation with stakeholders and businesses in Carriacou, Petite Martinique and Grenada on rebuilding efforts. Prime Minister Mitchell refrained from estimating total damage as he awaits comprehensive assessments from the United Nations, the World Bank, ECLAC and other international agencies. He expects results within a month or two to accurately quantify the storm's impact. Prime Minister Mitchell also announced that the CARICOM Heads of Government Conference will be held in Grenada from July 28th to July 30th. And in response to the near assassination of former President Donald Trump on July 13th, the Holy See has issued a statement deploring the act. Trump sustained injuries to his ear and one man was killed. Here's Rome Reports with more on the statement.
The Vatican issued a statement expressing its concern over the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. It insists the attack was an episode that, quote, wounds democracy and causes suffering and death. The statement said the Holy See joins the U.S. Bishop's prayer for America, for the victims and for peace in the country, so violence will never prevail. The U.S. bishops also condemned any kind of political violence and noted it will never be the way to resolve party disagreements.
It's time now for us to take a short break, but as we do so, we look back on a year of Altos production. Here's a look. Stay with us.
Came in their hundreds from parishes across the length and breadth of the country for the 21st edition of Jesus Explosion.
Human trafficking is actually a modern form of slavery.
I really love going to church and hearing it in a different language with people who don't speak the same language, but we all came together and to praise God.
The beautiful Church of Our Lady of Montserrat, located in scenic central Trinidad, has been rededicated. Today we welcome to the Altos set Your Grace, Archbishop Charles Jason Gordon. Welcome to the set.
Very good to be on Altos. Very, very good.
All Saints and All Souls are significant days in the Catholic Church, providing a time for reflection, remembrance, and spiritual contemplation.
In the beginning of the community, up until COVID, every Christmas day, we would have tents in our car park, tables and chairs, and we would bring the poor here for Christmas lunch.
Not only with TSTT, a couple of months ago, TT Post was also the victim of a cyber attack.
This village here, the entire village is the smell of pastels. So the whole village, the aroma of the pastel we cooking.
Sylvia's pastels certainly look delicious, and I have to confess that I do have some in my own refrigerator.
The nation's fifth prime minister died on New Year's Day at the age of 90 in a Florida hospital.
A state of euphoria for the students of Holy Faith Convent in Penal after after they captured the title of National Junior Panorama Champions in the secondary schools category.
Archbishop Gordon called for Catholics to approach Lent with enthusiasm, as it is a preparation for the love of Easter.
This is March 20th, marks the first anniversary of your inauguration as President of the Republic. Describe for us in one word how the journey has been for the last year.
May I use my president's prerogative and give you 2 words?
Of course you can.
Yes. So, challenging, rewarding.
Thanks very much for staying with us. Our guest today is Professor Oluyemi Mashama, a Master Instructor of Defense and Arrestor Tactics in the Caribbean Institute of Safety and Security. He holds the title of Professor in Martial Arts, Advanced Development Instructor, and is a Certified Defense Tactics Master Instructor. He's also the holder of a Master's degree in National Security and Intelligence and provides training for several local security agencies. Prof, welcome to the set of Altos.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
And we brought you here because in light of the rising crime situation and the fact that there's, as the psychologist said today, there's a lot of apprehension, a lot of fear. What can we do to protect ourselves? What can we do to make ourselves a little more aware? And perhaps we can begin by how can we increase our own awareness of potential threats in the environment around us?
And I'm glad that, this is the question and this is the topic that we have to do today, and also in this environment and in this space. One of the first things that we need to deal with is to understand that it's not about just getting the tips. The tips have been existing for years. We could go on the internet and pull tips up. The biggest thing we have to do is deal with our behavioral patterns, our attitudes towards what is happening in our country. It's happening, it's here, we need to adapt, we need to train, we need to develop. So I always like to say personal safety and self-defense is an art. The A standing for attitude, and what type of attitudes we have and we portray to what is happening to us. Are we going to have attitude of, well, it's not happening to me? Are we going to have the attitude that, hey, let's see what we can come together and do to make it better? Or are we going to have the attitude that it is happening and I don't care? We need to have a positive attitude towards the environment and the development. It's happening, how can we fix it? How can we come, and it was said earlier, how can we come together to fix it? Because it's not a one-person thing. It's not a government thing. It's not a police thing. It's a country thing. So our attitude is very important. And one of the things that deals with the attitude also is what we do in the environment. How do we now change the attitude of the perpetrators to not want to have to come at us in that way? Then we go to the R, the responsibility. The responsibility falls on all of us. All of us as citizens, we are responsible for our safety, our security in different areas. And then we come down to keeping and making the criminals responsible for their actions on the different levels. So again, whatever our response must be, must give an idea to the criminals that, hey, every action, there's a reaction, everything you do, there's a consequence. And then we deal with trust. And trust deals with trusting in ourselves, trusting in a greater power, trusting in God, trusting in the environment, trusting in the powers that be, and trusting in our fellow man in the environment. And how can we now change our behaviors and our attitudes to develop and to work alongside each of the areas that I just spoke about?
So let's just say I'm going home, for instance, and I suspect that I'm being followed. What is my attitude? What is my responsibility? And what do I trust?
So your attitude is that as you're always being followed in the first place, whether you're thinking it's not about being paranoid. There's a difference between paranoid and being aware. So I must have the attitude that, hey, I am being followed any which way. What can I do? So I must be, some people, I remember following a neighbor from Port of Spain straight to home, and they did not even recognize that my vehicle was behind them. And this is from Port of Spain to central area. They didn't even realize. Because again, most of the times what the criminals work on is the fact that they know that we are tired. Sometimes it's after work, sometimes you're just stressed out with something. So your whole situational awareness is off from that point of view. So you must have the attitude that, hey, I am possibly being followed, be aware of my surrounding. It's my responsibility to, one, reach home safely, or to reach wherever I'm going safely, to reach back to my family. You know, normally when we leave home, we say to our families, we'll see you later. We have a responsibility from that point of view, but we also have a responsibility to the country. Because it's our responsibility to do what is necessary to make sure that the crime rate don't go up anymore. By doing the right things, it might be making sure that we have money on the phone to make a call if something happens, making sure that we have a proper tire in the car, making sure that our windows are up in certain areas, our doors are locked, making sure that we keep the distance between us and the car in front, because sometimes when we go close to a vehicle in the front of us, we have that closeness to the front, closeness to the back. If something happens, we may need to maneuver out. All these are things that sometimes we take for granted. So it's our responsibility to also get the proper training to be able to deal with these specific scenarios. Because we train for anything else we have to do. If we have to get our driver's permit, we have to go for a job, we do these things. But what do we do to train ourselves to be safe?
So is this defensive driving training or another kind of training that you're
I like to say personal safety, because personal safety training involves everything that could keep us safe. So it's not just about the defensive driving alone. It's about self-defense. It's about situational awareness. It's about maybe understanding basic things about your car to know when, hey, maybe I start my car and something's off, because you don't want to shut down in the wrong area. You don't want to be in a space where I'm not supposed to be here. But if I'm here, what do I do? Who do I call? Who do I have that I'm sure I could get onto? Because sometimes we say, you know, we call the police station and we didn't get through. So sometimes I advise persons, have somebody on speed dial who you know will answer for sure, that you could tell them, hey, this is what is happening now. You call the police. Have a person where we could send our location. Most times when I'm leaving from one spot to the next, I'll put on my live location and have somebody monitor it just in case. So they could know, okay, I'm on my way home, I'm supposed to reach at this time, so this is supposed to happen. These simple things that we do, even with our children, put on the live locations on the phone. Let them, at that point, okay, I'm coming home now, I'm leaving school. So these are things that could give added support as it relates to personal
safety. But let's just suppose we've done that, we've arrived at our destination, we arrive at home, and we, in terms of getting out of the car or waiting for our gates to open, what kind of safety precautions should we take at that stage? Because either we get out of the car to open the gate, or we are waiting for the gate to open if we have an electronic gate.
Right. So what I tell people, in these scenarios, we have to keep in mind sometimes situation change. So when I'm leaving home on a morning, I'm also preparing in my mind what I'm going to meet when I reach back home. What's the environment going to be? Is it going to be darker? Is it going to be brighter? So there are things that you could put in place to give yourself an advantage. Not everybody may have cameras, but if you have cameras and it's attached to your phone, before you even approach, you could put on your phone on your camera and scan the area of your house as you approach. So if you're opening the gate, you can maybe open the gate from a distance while watching the cameras to see what is happening at that point in time. If you don't have cameras, what I tend to ask people to do, and I do myself sometimes, if I don't have cameras, or I maybe put something by the gate, maybe a broom or something by the gate when you're leaving. So if I'm coming home in the afternoon and now this broom has been moved, yes, then you could have an idea, okay, I don't have a camera, but something was moved. You could place something in the area of the front of the gate or something that you know, hey, I had this here, but it's no longer there. These are things you could set yourself to give yourself that idea. Sometimes press the gate and it may mean drive away a little bit. It may mean if you're coming out your vehicle, pass first. Pass your gate first. It may mean parking a little lower down and walking back to your gate, because what this does, it gives you a chance to see, what is happening in the environment. So you may want to park, drive straight up to the gate and then come out and open it. But you're putting yourself at a disadvantage in the first place.
The Prof, a lot of us are walking around with these earbuds in our ear. We walk around, either we're jogging, we're walking, even when we're driving. How safe is that?
That is so dangerous.
In the environment?
That is so dangerous, because you're losing one of your senses there, one of the main senses in the environment, which is to be able to hear what is happening. So yes, it's relaxing, But what difference would it make if I put my phone on speaker and I may have my armband and I still have the music playing? I'm not going to really disturb anybody. We're running past each other or whatever the case is, but I could still listen to my music and I could still have an idea of what is happening. We sometimes like to drive in environments with our windows up and the air condition on and the music blasting. But then we are not hearing what is happening in our surroundings sometimes. So it may be advisable that we maybe leave the glass 3/4 so that I could still hear what is happening outside, just in case there is something. Sometimes you hear people at the traffic light, they blowing and they're not even hearing it. Because the light changed, they may have been on their phones and all these things. So
we saw recently where a young lady was actually killed in a parking lot. In a mall.
Yeah.
What advice would you want to offer for persons walking back to their vehicles late at night in these open spaces?
So what I do when I'm going back to my vehicle, most times, and again, the advice I give to people is 1, you don't ever walk straight to your vehicle. 2, you have an alarm on your car, whatever, sometimes just press, let the alarm go off. But when you're at distance, we normally wait till we are close, and then we want to press it to open it. Sometimes press it from a distance, because I could have control. Because you might see, somebody might not have seen you, they hear the car, you might see somebody, take notice in it. Okay. Be aware of your surrounding. And one of the things that I like, the tools that I like to give to use for that is something called the color codes. It was developed by a guy by the name of Jeff Copper. He died. He was an old Navy colonel, and he died a while back. But he developed some color codes that help us react or to deal with our environment as it relates to safety and security. We had white. White is when we're totally unaware, which unfortunately is where most people live. You don't want to be there. That is having a victim mentality. Then we have yellow. Yellow is where you are aware of your surroundings, but not paranoid. So you are aware of possible dangers. You are aware of things that could happen. You know that we live in a world where these things could exist. Then we have orange. Orange could only function properly when you're in yellow, because now you are able to identify a possible threat and either move away or deal with it based on what you may be trained to do or where you may not be trained to do. So you could react to it. We have red. Red is where you may have identified it. You was in yellow, you identified it in orange, but it happened so suddenly they didn't give you any time to maneuver. So now you have to respond because the action is happening now. I have to respond, whatever it may be. And then we have black. Black is where you was in white, totally unaware, and something happens, you don't want to be there either. So it's ideally you want to be in yellow, you want to be aware, not paranoid, not studying fear to the extent, because again, that will create mental issues for you. You want to create that environment and still. Yeah.
Well, my producer is telling me that we are on red now and I have to stop.
Yes.
So I want to thank you very much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll be able to get you, on another occasion to take us through, perhaps even more visually, in terms of how we can be more aware of our surroundings. Prof, thanks very much.
Thank you very much, too.
And thanks very much for staying with us. We'll be right back. Catholic News Associate Editor Simone DeLochan gives us a preview of what's in store this week.
In this week's Catholic News, beloved Dr. Richard Clark has received a papal award for his dedication to charitable medical care, and a pilgrim shares her experiences visiting Marian shrines throughout Europe. I am Simone DeLochan, Associate Editor for Catholic News.
And that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Altos. A reminder that you can send your correspondence to us at altos@catholictt.org. The Trinity TV Telethon ends this Sunday. This event is their main fundraiser. Here's a bit of the performances that we experienced. Have a good week, everyone.
Hi, good day. Julia. Okay, thank you. Can I get your last name? This is the world.